play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Radio, Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening live over the air on 96.5 FM The Answer, or whether you're listening to the podcast, or if you're listening delayed on Krypton Radio, or whatever way, I'm so glad you're here. My producer, Zach, is in there frantically working the controls because right when things started, I lost my sound. So I can't hear anything. So I was listening to the intro and it was, all that, and then it just cut out. So are we broadcasting right now, Zach? We're broadcasting, but we can't hear. Is this, folks, hold on. This just happened. So I'm trying to see where I'm at. Go ahead. Feel free, Zach. You can interrupt the show. Where are we at? Are we going to get our sound back or what's happening? Okay. Am I going to be able to hear my guest? Okay. Yeah. All right. So Zach is working it frantically. Okay. This just happened. I love live radio. This ain't no podcast. And you never know. We're in here with all this Star Trek and Star Wars looking equipment. And yet evidently the gremlins still attack. Anyway, this is live talk show or live talk radio. It's just like it's like political talk radio, religious talk radio. Hey, I want to fix my car talk radio. Help me with my garden talk radio, whatever. But it's Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. And I just love doing it. But I also love podcasts. I love both mediums. So we will also go out as a podcast a few days after the live show. Last week was a fun show. You can go listen online right now. You can go to shaneplays.com and check it out. Or you can go to iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and more. And I'm out there in the podcast directories. Just look for Shane Plays. And you can also find me on Krypton Radio, a week delayed. Krypton Radio is SciFi for your Wi-Fi, kryptonradio.com. So go check that out. And there's multiple ways to listen to the show. And, you can also always listen live online over the internet via 96.5 FM theanswer.com. So there you go. And last week's show is we had the Star Trek Axanar lawsuit settlement update with Jonathan Lane of Fan Film Factor, and that's been a very active show in the podcast stats. So make sure to go check that out. Now today I'm going to have Ross Watson, tabletop RPG game designer Ross Watson. Really looking forward to talking to him. And he's going to tell us, what he's up to and what it's like to be a RPG game designer and all that cool stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, Ross, are you there?
I'm right here.
Hey, if I'm not mistaken, you're from Fayetteville, Arkansas, right?
Well, I was born in Fayetteville. I actually grew up in Hot Springs.
Oh, okay. So we're fellow Arkanoids.
Yes, we are.
All right. So where do you hang your hat now?
Currently, I'm living in Thornton, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver.
Okay.
It's a far cry from the hot swamps of Arkansas, but I do love it.
Yeah. Well, you and I met at SpaCon in Hot Springs over the summer.
Yes, we did. That was a fantastic show.
And they're doing it again. They've already got it on the schedule for like the next several years. SpaCon was, for a first con, they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and I'm talking with Bill with the city of Hot Springs over there about hopefully being involved with helping sponsor the next one. And I'm also talking to Jonathan Westmoreland.
Great guy.
Yeah, he put together all the role playing, and they're expanding it to some other types of games. And I'm talking with him to having Shane Plays help again. So I was fortunate to sponsor The Room last time where all the role playing happened. And we met. That's right. You're running Savage Rifts, which has gotten a lot of attention. And we're going to have a news segment first, but
okay.
We'll definitely talk about Savage Rifts because that's probably the highest visibility thing you personally are involved with right now. But feel free to correct me if there's something else going on that's even bigger. When we come into the segment, we're actually talking about all your role-playing goodness. So, but yeah, I just want to make sure, let me go through. I got thrown off right at the beginning of the show. I lost my audio and I was like, what the heck? So I'm off of my pace just here a little bit. So I want to make sure I went through all my housekeeping notes. Look like I did. Folks, remember, you can go to shaneplays.com. That's Shane Plays, ShanePlays.com. Not only can you find previous shows archives, you can find Let's Plays, you can find all kinds of other gaming goodness and geek goodness there, but you can also find the show notes for today's show. So the news items and information about Ross and his bio and links to Evil Beagle Games and other stuff where he works. It's all there at shaneplays.com. And don't forget, this is live talk radio. So if you so choose, you can call in at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. Okay, now that I've somewhat recovered from the initial anti-aircraft fire that came towards the show right at the beginning. So we're maintaining, though. We're staying on target. So let's go ahead. Hey, Zach, can we turn on the secret microphone in the newsroom? There they go. Oh, man. Hey, did you find that? Did we have time to find that audio I told you about? Are you getting it set up right now? Okay, well, let me know when it's ready. And then, because I've got some news items that relate to that. I guess I'll go into a role-playing game related news item since we're waiting on that. Ross, did you hear about this? Now, okay, this news item is not about whether PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, is a good organization. I'm not here to politically discuss PETA as to whether we agree with their politics or not. That is not the point of the story. But did you hear the recent thing this week that came out? Yeah. Good gravy. Okay. So evidently PETA is really good at getting themselves in the news to quote unquote stay relevant with non-news. They just latch on to something and they'll release a press release and it gets picked up and gets out there. So evidently they're smart at marketing. But this is just dumb, in my opinion. Okay. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and this is linked to shaneplays.com, wants Warhammer characters to stop wearing fur. That's
right. Specifically the Space Wolves from Warhammer 40K, which... Yeah. Oh, my God, it's so funny. Space Vikings from the year 40,000 should stop wearing fur.
Should stop wearing fake imaginary fur. Or in the case of... the miniatures, I guess either metal or plastic fur, right?
Yeah, it's bizarre. It certainly was. I mean, I was just kind of, is this real? Yeah. That was my first thought when I looked at that. I'm like, come on, this is the Onion.
Well, that's what I thought too. I thought somebody had come up with a gaming version of the Onion, right? But no, I went to the PETA website and the press release is really there. And they say something, here they say, PETA has written to Games Workshop CEO Kevin Roundtree, and I really hope that Kevin is developing a beautiful response to this, asking if the leading British miniature wargaming brand ban fur garments from all Warhammer characters. While we appreciate that they are fictional, draping them in what looks like a replica of a dead animal sends the message that wearing fur is acceptable, when in fact it has no more place in 2017 than it would in the year 40K. So, wow. The grimdark, battle-hardened warriors are known for their martial prowess, but wearing the skins of dead animals doesn't take any skill. Well, okay, actually it does if you had to hunt the animal, but I mean, I'm not going to go there. Okay, indeed, nothing on the bloody battlefields of Warhammer's conflict-ravaged universe could match the terrible reality that foxes, minks, rabbits, and other living beings experience at the hands of the fur trade. Okay, so this is either and or completely bizarre and stupid or genius marketing or both. But it's give it a rest. I mean, this is why when people who I disagree with their politics come up with legitimate issues, I have a hard time taking seriously because so much of this kind of stuff's going on. So it's a bizarre way to make a point for what PETA stands for. Exactly. And I mean, I could see it if people who were doing LARP of Warhammer were wearing real furs and they say, hey, but to go, anyway, I'm not going to spend any more time on that because I know I'm feeding in what they wanted to happen. I've said PETA like 10 times now on the radio.
Well, Games Workshop is certainly getting a boost in the marketing for that.
This will help Games Workshop much more than it'll help PETA. But
I think you're right.
It also goes to say, I've been saying on this show for getting close to 2 years now, there's a major renaissance in gaming going on. And the fact that Warhammer is relevant enough in culture for PETA to attach to is big. Right? I mean, would you agree with that? Did we lose Ross? I think we just lost him. I hear him typing.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now? He can't hear? Wow. I don't know. Hang up and try to call him back, I guess. I don't know what's going on today. We've got gremlins. Let's see if we can get him. Are you there?
Yeah.
Man, we got gremlins today. We never have these kind of audio issues, so I don't know what's going on. I guess our system can't handle the overwhelming power that is Ross Watson. So that's what's happening. You're a force, man. All right. So here's our next, and like they say, I'll fix it in post-production. So I'll either leave all this in the podcast version for the comedy value of it, or I'll clean it up. We'll see. But anyway, so Zach, you said you got that sound clip ready? Let go with it, because this applies to our next 3 news items. Okay, that of course is a clip from the Time Lord's Doctor in the TARDIS from back in the, I think, late 80s, early 90s. But anyway, I've got a trifecta of Doctor Who news here. So, Ross, are you a good news first, bad news second? Wow, we lost him again. Just ask him to call. Send him a message and ask him to call the actual studio number. I don't know what's happening. So anyway, we're gonna have some Doctor Who news here as soon as I want to have. I'm assuming Ross is a Doctor Who nut, but so I'm hoping to get him in on these news items. Zach, are you a good news? If you have good news and bad news, are you a good news first, bad news second, or are you bad news first, good news second?
Bad news first.
You're bad news first. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna see what Ross thinks. Did you send him a message asking him to call the studio number? Okay. Mm-hmm. So real quick, I was going to ask you this anyway. I hear something about an amazing owl tomorrow. There's like a superb owl tomorrow happening. Evidently, a lot of people are excited about it. It has something to do with football. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. What's the deal with this owl? What's so great about it?
Well, it includes the Patriots, Yeah. So that's a major reason why.
So you'd say that your excitement is very inflated about it?
You had to go there.
If they lose, are you going to be deflated?
Yeah, I will. I will.
Poor Zach. In all honesty, because I always like to give you some airtime because you want to be a sports analyst. Well, what's going to happen tomorrow?
Well, hopefully the Patriots win, but if they don't, I'll cut off the lights in my room, be secluded.
No.
And basically just...
And crumple into a pile of spineless, gibbering jelly?
I'll think about life.
Okay, so what... But I mean, honestly, sports analyst, what's going to happen tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow's game is interesting because you got the number 1 offense against the number 1 defense. But, I think the gap between the Patriots offense and the Falcons defense is wider between the Falcons offense and the Patriots defense. So the defense for the Falcons, they have a lot of young players who Tom Brady could basically pick apart if he wants.
Right.
And I think with that gap being larger than the opposite side, I believe we should win. But it's the Super Bowl. It's one game. Well,
the last I heard, and there's that any given Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Any given Sunday. Mm-hmm. Okay, but now I've heard the odds makers are 2-1 in favor of the Patriots, right? Those are not overwhelming odds.
But they scare me.
Do they?
Whenever one picks the Patriots, that scares me.
Does it?
It does, especially in the playoffs.
Okay. Why is that? Because they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory? I mean, what?
Well, back in 2007 when the Patriots lost to the Giants,
they were
perfect
picked.
Season. Yeah.
They were picked. Mm-hmm. All right. Hold on a second. So do we have any update from Ross?
No, I just sent him that message and he hasn't called yet.
Okay. Well, I guess try to call him on Skype again and see what happens. I don't know. We shall see if I'd love to get him back, but if we can't get him back, then we will proceed with the news segment without him and hopefully get him.
Hello.
Hey, hello. Are we Skype? Are we by Skype?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, that is so weird, Ross. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. We did a little Super Bowl discussion while we're waiting on you. If we lose audio again, do you have access to a phone or like a mobile? Okay, call our studio number. I'm not sure what's going on, but if we lose you again, call 501-823-0965.
Okay.
And then
I heard the intro of the Doctor Who music.
Okay, so you heard that. Okay.
And then it cut off.
All right, so I don't know what's going on, but anyway, that's live radio. It gives a little energy to things. All right. So I held off on the Doctor Who news items just in case you are a Doctor Who fan. So
I am.
Okay, cool. So I asked Zach this, if there's good news and bad news, do you want the good news first and the bad second, or the bad first and the good second?
Let's get the pain over with.
The pain over with. Okay, I've got 2 points of pain here. The first one is that Peter Capaldi has said that this upcoming season is his last.
Yeah.
So he's bowing out, which bums me out because I think he could be a great doctor. He just hasn't come into his own yet. So first season of his, in my opinion, was kind of weak. I thought the second season got a lot better. The special where he was trapped in that castle over and over was one of the best pieces of television ever. And I really think he has the potential to be a great doctor, but I guess we'll never find out.
I like the one with him and Robin Hood in it. I like that.
Yeah, that one, where he was convinced that Robin Hood's not real, it's a robot or something like that. Yeah. I think, like, one of my favorite doctors is John Pertwee, the third Doctor. Right. So I kind of like the older, persnickety kind of doctor. And a lot of modern fandom is more, they're more like, they've been exposed to like David Tennant and Matt Smith, so they've been exposed to a different kind of doctor. But I think that if Capaldi would have continued his run, he would have come to be one of the greats. That's just my opinion. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to his last season. It's also going to be Steve Moffat's last season as showrunner, so we'll see. And of course, there's frantic speculation as to who will be the next Doctor, which I'm going to stay out of for the moment. I
agree with you about Capaldi's potential. I think I would have liked to have seen more of him.
Yeah, it's a real bummer that he's moving on, but it is what it is. So, and there's always that great excitement to see who the next Doctor is going to be. So, and of course, there's a lot of people pushing for diversity and representation. I'm not saying I agree with this or disagree with this. I'm just saying a lot of people would like to see it to be a woman.
I've heard Haley Atwell.
Yeah, I've heard that thrown around. I think that's more from a fan perspective, but I like Haley Atwell a lot, and I was bummed when Agent Carter got canceled. So, but the Master has now been Missy. Even though, like, original Who, the new Who has really messed with the lore of the original Who, because classic Who, Time Lords there were Time Lords and Time Ladies, and they had their gender established. So when they regenerated, they kept their gender, but that new Who is kind of fiddled around with things. So we shall see. All right. So the good news is, I've got another piece of bad news. The War Doctor, John Hurt, passed away.
Yeah. Oh man, that's bad. I like John Hurt. He was awesome in so many. Yeah,
not just as the War Doctor. I mean, he was in 1984. He was Winston in 1984. He played the main role in The Elephant Man. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's done
Alien.
Alien. He was the first person who had a alien to burst out of his chest while they were eating spaghetti. So no, he's been there. Yeah. So and of course the War Doctor. That established a major piece of unexpected Doctor Who lore. And I loved his line in the 50th anniversary special when Matt Smith and David Tennant had their sonic screwdrivers out like weapons. He's like, "What are you going to do? Assemble furniture at them?" That was like one of the best lines ever in Doctor Who. But okay, so now to the good news. We do get Doctor Who, the new season with Peter Capaldi, which now unfortunately be his last. And there's a spinoff series called Class that's kind of a high school drama with a doctor kind of in it. I'm not sure. Are debuting here in America on BBC America April 15th. So that's some good news. Huh. So we'll pay our geek taxes on April 15th and we'll watch these premieres of Doctor Who. And I'm hearing this is hearsay, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm hearing that Class is not doing so well in the UK. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, but evidently it at least has Capaldi cameos in it. So, all right. And I'm going to, just because of technical difficulties, I'm going to mention a couple of other news items, but people can go to the website at shaneplays.com and follow and read more if they want, because we don't have time to talk about them. I want to make sure to talk about your RPG stuff, Ross. I don't know why I said that twice. I guess because you're twice as good. Let's see. Yeah, and by the way, the Peter Capaldi story is from BBC News. The John Hurt Dead Elephant Man star was 77. That's from the Hollywood Reporter. And then the PETA wants Warhammer characters to stop wearing furs now. I've seen that reported in several places, but the article I've linked is from PC Gamer. And then a couple of pieces of TV and movie news. One, the CW has picked up Black Lightning to be a pilot. So Black Lightning is, of course, a long-standing DC character who has electrical powers. Is Black Lightning, so he is, of course, black. So that I think this will be the first superhero show with a black lead. That'll be cool. And my friend
Luke Cage.
Wow. Thank you for keeping me honest. Wow. How did I miss that? Okay. On broadcast TV, then I'll segment it down like that. No, you're right. Man, missed that one. But anyway, and my friend Calvin was like, man, the CW is going to get overloaded with superhero shows. I think they're going to change their name to the SW, the Superhero Weekly, right? Because there's a lot of superhero shows. I don't mind, but anyway.
Dude, I got to tell you, I freaking love all of the CW.
The only one I don't watch, in which everyone's like, what? I don't watch Arrow, but I watch everything else. I've never gotten into Arrow. Zach's giving me the look of disbelief. But no, I know a lot of people love Arrow. I don't hate Arrow. I like when Arrow shows up in the crossovers, but I've just never been able to get into it as an ongoing show. So, but I did see they have Mad Dog in it now, and I love Mad Dog.
It's cool, you know. Not every show is going to appeal to everybody. That's fine, but they have such a wide variety, and so many of them are just like, you know, they put glee in the hearts of comic book fans like me. So. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of love to the character. I mean, Flash is great. Legends of Tomorrow has gone from I'm going to watch it because it's on to I really look forward to Legends of Tomorrow now. The second season's gotten a lot better. And then, of course, I watch Supergirl. Mm-hmm. My wife watches that with me. But Arrow, I've just never, for whatever reason, never been able to get into it. So, and now they're doing Black Lightning. Black Lightning. The second black lead in a superhero show on TV. Second. All right.
What about ISIS?
ISIS.
Yeah, Almighty ISIS in the Shazam Hour.
Oh, way back in the day.
Yeah.
I thought she was Middle Eastern.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, this needs investigation.
Okay. Well, I want for the CW, I want every night of the week for it to be 4 hours of back-to-back superhero shows. I'm okay with that. That's all I can say. So I want an ISIS show too. By goodness. All right, I got to move us on. Finally, the Dune is getting remade, the movie Dune, which I'm one of those people who desperately loves David Lynch's version from the 80s, but a lot of people don't. And Denis Villeneuve, I guess I'm saying that right, he directed Sicario, and The Arrival. He's going to be directing the reboot of Dune. So that's coming up. You can go learn more about that by reading the link at shaneplays.com, and that's from Bleeding Cool News. All right, Ross, I'm going to take us to a break. We're getting to the break just a little bit late. I'm going to get us to a break, come back, and then I'm going to give you as much time as we can to talk about all your cool tabletop RPG design goodness. Take us to a break, Zach.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, The story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. I'm joined by Ross Watson, tabletop RPG game designer, currently with Evil Beagle Games, a Naughty Dog, good games. Hey, Ross, so we've still got you. All right, good. So the audio's still good. I looked up over the break, and the Shazam ISIS Power Hour.
I think I was wrong about that.
Yeah, well, she's supposed to be an ancient Egyptian superheroine who resurrected in the body of a school teacher, and she was played by Joanna Cameron. So yeah,
I was wrong about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Know what I was thinking though is that we should definitely, you got to talk about Blade because that guy paved the way.
He did
back in the 90s.
But that was movies, right?
Yeah,
he did.
Without him, we wouldn't have anything of the superhero revolution we got.
Well,
now.
I made that case. A lot of people say that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are the ones that kicked off the current. It was Blade, because Blade was successful and X-Men was successful, and then we started getting everything else. Yeah, I agree with you. Blade, which was based straight up on a Marvel superhero comic book property, was like one of the first major. Have you seen Blade, Zach?
I have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, no, it doesn't. I don't think Blade gets enough credit for kicking off the current renaissance and amazing superhero movies and all that stuff we have right now. So, totally agree with that. All right, now to try to dig into our topic of the day, Ross, you are a RPG game designer. You've worked on tabletop RPGs. You've also done some video game work. So
that's right.
I'm going to read your bio really quickly. This is from Wikipedia, so it may or may not be correct. Ross Watson is a designer of computer, miniature, and role-playing games and a writer in various genres. Watson worked on the Warhammer 40K role-playing line. Did your characters have fur?
Yes, they totally did. Fake fur.
You're a bad person, Ross.
Future fur.
You are a bad person. They're going to be picketing you pretty soon. Warhammer 40K. Zach's in there having to cover his mouth up. He's laughing so hard. Roleplay Line is as the lead developer for Dark Heresy, was the lead designer for Rogue Trader and Deathwatch, and was part of the design team for Black Crusade. He was the lead developer for both Aaron Alston Strike Force and Savage Worlds Rifts, which Savage Rifts has, that's been a major, I can't get away from news on that. People are really excited about it. His written works include the Accursed and Weird War 1 settings for Savage Worlds, contributions to Star Wars Edge of the Empire RPG and the video game Darksiders 2, Warhammer 40K Regicide, and Battlefleet Gothic Armada. You've designed rules and scenarios for miniature game lines such as Dust Warfare, and written several card games. Or written for several card games, including Warhammer Invasion, Empire Engine, and the Lost Legacy series. So you've been there, done that. You've got the T-shirt. And you're with Evil Beagle Games. So
that's right.
Tell us a little bit about Evil Beagle.
Absolutely. So Evil Beagle, Bad Dog, Good Games. We have been around for a few years now. Our big year has actually been 2016, just the year just passed, because we got involved in a lot of really great projects like Aaron Alston's Strike Force. We actually converted the setting called Primeval Thule, which is a really cool, awesome Cthulhu meets Conan setting, and we converted that into Savage Worlds for Sasquatch Game Studios. And then, of course, the biggest news of the year is we teamed up with Palladium Books and Pinnacle Entertainment Group to bring out the Savage Rifts line. And that was the biggest Kickstarter ever for Pinnacle.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be prouder of the way, the books turned out. And I think almost all the backers have their books now at this point because of the shipping.
That's great.
We're so excited. It's been a big launch for us. And we're really excited about doing more in the Rifts universe.
Right. So for the people that don't know, I remember when Rifts came out in the 80s and early 90s from Palladium, right? Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah.
And it was this really unique, hardcore kind of sci-fi / magic setting. Because I remember it had technology, but also had ley lines and all this stuff.
It was 1990 when Rifts first came out.
Yeah. In fact, I think I learned about ley lines by buying the Rifts book and reading it. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was this, and it was like, if I remember right, it was pretty lethal. You could die easily. I can't remember exactly, but it was one of those rule sets / campaign settings that had developed an immediate like hardcore following. Right. So, and then, when did the Savage Rifts things first start coming along? I think we lost him again, Zach. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully he'll call in. But anyway, just so people know, there's a game system out there called Savage Worlds. And Savage Worlds is kind of like it's kind of like GURPS, the generic universal role-playing system. Not that it has the exact same rule set, but that it's multi-genre. It's intentionally designed that you can play multiple genres and stuff in it. And that's Savage Worlds. Am I explaining that right, Ross?
Yeah, Savage Worlds is a universal system that's
right.
going to be used for a variety of different genres. It's got a kind of a pulp, quick action style to it. They like to say it's fast, furious, and fun.
Well, I've seen the exploding dice mechanic take people out. I mean, I've seen that. Yeah. Those exploding dice are no joke.
Yeah, they're super fun. I mean, they really build this kind of sense of drama just from a die roll, which is kind of awesome. But I was just going to say, Savage Worlds has kind of its own flavor as a system, even though it is universal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it does have a flavor. I mean, like I said, it's not a GURPS clone by any means, but it's another system out there that, like, if you play D&D, you're basically playing in a medieval fantasy setting. Now, there's other flavors, but that's basically the default setting of it. But like GURPS and Savage Worlds and stuff like that, it's not quite like that. You can play, multiple genres, and the rules are designed for that. So, and so what Savage Rifts did, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is you can now play Rifts using the Savage Worlds game setting or system.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't actually change much about Rifts except bring it into that Savage Worlds rule set. So it really, you're getting to enjoy that classic setting. My friend Sean Patrick Fan, and the lead designer, he likes to describe Rifts as everything and the weaponized kitchen sink.
Right.
It's a gonzo over the top setting, and you get to play that now using the Savage Rifts rule set. So it does lend itself to that fast, fun, and furious style, which I think a lot of people have been responding to very positively. They love enjoying Rifts in this new way. Yeah,
it's so it's basically the same setting, but using the Savage Worlds rule system. Now, is there? I know in some cases, if I'm not totally mistaken, Savage Worlds is publishing versions of a setting while the other setting is still out there. Like, I think, I could be wrong, I think they did that with Traveler. Is the other Rifts game, the main Rifts game, still out there? Or is, if you want new Rifts material, is Savage Rifts the only way to go?
Oh, no. Palladium is still publishing
That's
Rifts.
What I
They've been
thought.
publishing Rifts 1990, and they are still they're pushing the storyline forward, and we have absolutely not taken over by any means.
Right.
We're just offering kind of an alternate way to play Rifts.
That's interesting to me that there's enough. I'm telling you, we're in a gaming renaissance right now. There's enough player base, enough interest to have two gaming systems for the same setting. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, but it's different rules mechanics, but basically the same flavor in the same game.
Correct.
Okay.
And the opportunity to kind of take this setting and present it under a new rule set kind of allows us to explore areas mechanically that I think people have been looking for in Rifts, and just, maybe it's a slightly different experience because of that. Like there's these guys in Rifts called juicers who have this very short lifespan. But in the Palladium version, there's not really a mechanical effect to that. But in Savage Rifts, there is. There's a actual resource called Burn that sort of counts down your lifetime. You know as a juicer that you have a very short fuse and you're going to eventually burn out. That kind of a thing. So it's like I said, it's a way to present that setting in a new way to the fans and bring in new fans who haven't heard of it before, but know Savage Worlds.
Okay, so how much of a challenge was it to adapt? I guess I would imagine that were I going to adapt Rifts over to Savage Worlds, that I would go and play a lot of Rifts. And then sit down with the Savage Worlds game set or the game rules and say, okay, how do we make this stuff cross over? But I'd probably start off by playing a lot of the original Rifts game. I mean, am I off the mark, or how did you guys approach it?
Well, absolutely. We played Rifts. I am a huge Rifts fan. Actually, as a matter of fact, when the game came out in 1990, I was attending high school, Lakeside High School, Hot Springs, Arkansas.
I know exactly where that's at. My nephew went there.
So my buddies and I, we were playing that game right there back in the 90s when it first came out. And I've been playing it, off and on ever since. And, your question was, what kind of a challenge was it? It was a big challenge because Rifts is such a over-the-top setting. I mean, there's guys who walk around with guns that literally cause a sonic boom from the
right.
It's
extremely over-the-top, lethal. I mean, you're dealing with a huge scale of what can happen. Yeah.
So it was a challenge both on the mechanic side, to capture that feel, and we wanted to, sort of push the envelope a little bit about what Savage Worlds can do. Again, my friend Sean Patrick Fannin, the lead designer, he likes to say that what we did with Savage Rifts is we kind of pushed Savage Worlds to 11. We kind of turned it up just a little bit more to be able to handle and be able to model like all the cool, over-the-top, amazing stuff that you can do in Rifts. And I believe we succeeded, Wally. We get all kinds of messages from fans all the time talking about how all the new things we added to Savage Worlds is really enhancing the experience. And it does feel like a Rift game where you're doing mega damage.
Right, mega damage. In fact, I remember the original advertisements for Rifts back in the day, like in the comic books or whatever, talked about mega damage in like big, bold. I remember that. Yeah, that was one of the appeals. So, well, that's cool. Yeah, and I remember it. Like I said, it was just all this crazy stuff going on. It was hardcore sci-fi, but it was also like space opera craziness plus magical stuff going on. It was just really weird. But a lot of people immediately flocked to it. I remember that. So did I hear you say that you came up with new mechanics or expanded mechanics for the existing Savage Worlds game in order to adapt to Rifts?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say like we reinvented the wheel or anything. If you've played Savage Worlds, you can play Savage Rifts, so you're not going to be lost. But we did kind of add some. We expanded, I think, some of the scale of the abilities in certain ways, and the mechanics. Like we added this idea of burn to the juicer, and we kind of adapted the way that an edge called Berserk works for the crazies, because they do in fact lose it when they're in combat, things like that. So yeah, it is a modification of Savage Worlds, but it is not like you will not be lost if you are a Savage Worlds player. You'll be like, oh, cool. You'll come in and understand exactly what we did.
Well, I guess what I'm curious about, did you do it in a way that you could like take what you did with Rifts and take that over to another Savage Worlds game?
I believe you could. I mean, a lot of the people are already kind of doing that on the forums. You can see them talking about how to take, some of the things we did with Power Armor or the what are called iconic frameworks and adapt them to other settings. I definitely have seen people do that. There's a really strong, sort of kit bash community for Savage Worlds. There's people like to take pieces from other games and put them into their own. So absolutely, and I hope that people do find the things that we did useful for their home games because it is. I feel like the rules and stuff that we introduced in Savage Worlds are not just limited to that space. Although the Megaverse is really big. So
right. So how does something like this happen? I mean, did Evil Beagle approach Palladium and say we would like, or did Savage Worlds approach Palladium and say we'd like to do this, and then Savage World or not Palladium, Pinnacle approached Palladium and said we would like to do this, and then they said yeah, and then they brought Evil Beagle in. How does something like this happen?
That's a great question. We get that a lot. A lot of people are like, how did you manage to make this happen? Because for a really, really long time, it was well known that Palladium and Rifts was kind of a house game. Like they didn't really want to expand on things with that, and that's totally fine. But what happened was my friend Sean Patrick Fan, and he's got the gift of gab. Okay, he's a very good marketing guy. And he had already, when he was working for One Bookshelf, he got together with Kevin Simbeta over at Palladium and talked him into, putting a lot of his stuff onto PDF, which was a big step for Palladium, and getting those books available through Drive-Thru RPG, stuff like that, right? So he had a pre-existing relationship with Kevin. They both worked well together, and he had this idea. He says, what if you were to take Savage Worlds and marry it up with this setting you've got of Rifts, and how would you feel about doing something with that? And basically, Sean kind of brokered the deal because he's also good friends with Shane Hensley over at Pinnacle, and it was an idea that kind of made sense to everybody. We were like, yeah, this would be good for all of us. And of course, Sean being my partner in Evil Beagle Games, he was like, we're going to be the ones to make it. Pinnacle's going to be the one to kind of run the Kickstarter and organize things, and then Palladium will provide the license. And it just worked out. It's kind of a lightning in a bottle. Wow.
So, I know, like even if people were unhappy, there's only so much you could say, on radio, But I mean, in all honesty, is every Pinnacle, Palladium, Evil? Is everybody happy? Evil Beagle, is everyone happy with how it came out?
I think so. I mean, I'm going to refer you earlier to the podcast where I mentioned that it was the biggest Kickstarter Pinnacle's ever had.
Right. Well, I'm pretty sure that Evil Beagle and Pinnacle are happy, but has Palladium, as far as now officially they're going to be like, this is great. But I mean, in all honesty, are they pretty happy, or they don't feel threatened or anything, or?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, Kevin and Sean talk quite a bit. And
okay.
The word I get from Sean is that Kevin's actually really pleased with a lot of the things that we introduced.
Well, it's expanded their brand. I mean, more people know about Rifts now, but
sure.
But human beings being human beings, people can feel kind of like, wait a minute, what did we just do? So,
right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I think, it's to me yet another indication that the tabletop role-playing game scene out there is very healthy, and we're not flying towards some sort of false bubble or something like that. I think that there's plenty of room for this sort of thing, which makes me extremely happy. So, before I'm going to read a quick shout out to one of our sponsors here real quick, but I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on from Savage Rifts and, ask you a couple other questions before I do that, because we've actually got about 7 minutes left. Radio goes quick. We actually got about 10 minutes, but is there anything else about Rifts or Savage Rifts that you wanted to mention?
I just want to keep people appraised that they will be seeing it on their game store shelves very soon because it's entering distribution. And you keep an eye out for more Savage Rifts coming your way 2017. If you are a fan of what we're doing, we have plans to expand the line. Okay.
So
keep an eye out for that.
Are you guys doing anything for like Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 officially yet?
I'm not exactly sure about that. I think there might be people already running it out there, but I don't know of any official presence that we have on either of the sites.
Okay. Yeah, I know people will custom it, but, just some companies are like, releasing official packages for whatever. And you mentioned Pinnacle several times. I've actually got on my list of people to follow up with Scott Woodard. Are you familiar with him over at Pinnacle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Six Gun, Flash Gordon, et cetera. We've talked a little bit on Twitter, and I've got him on the list to bring on as well. So.
Oh, you totally should. He is awesome, and he would be a great guest.
Yeah, I need to. He's probably by now forgotten we even talked, but I've got to keep a list of interesting people that I want to bring on. All right, I'm going to throw out a little love to a sponsor. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what you're up to and what it's like to be a game designer. So, some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, even with fur, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. For conveniently located 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. Tell them Shane Plays sent you.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
All right, so back to Ross Watson. Folks, don't forget, we do have a few minutes left here. If somebody has a question or comment for Ross, you can call in at 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. All right, Ross, so first of all, I know you kind of visit this neck of the woods. Have you ever been to Game Goblins over in West Little Rock?
I have not, but it sounds like a really cool store.
It's a good store. There's Josh owns the place, and Justin over there is a manager, and then you got Stephanie Straw and some other folks in the mix. They run a great store over there. So folks, go check them out. And I know they've got, I'm pretty sure I would be totally fundamentally shocked if they were not going to carry the Savage Rift stuff, because they have a really good inventory over there. So, all right. So just kind of coming down to the final stretch here, what's it? First of all, are you a full-time tabletop or a full-time game designer? Is that what you do full-time?
Yes, that is absolutely what I do full-time.
Okay.
I do supplement by doing like freelance writing for video games and things as well, but that, primarily my business is to write for tabletop games.
So how did you just set your sights on that? We got a call coming in, looks like, Zach. Hopefully we got a question for Ross. We'll find out. Did you set your sights on that and like, this is just what I'm going to do? Or did you accidentally fall into it? Or like, I love doing radio, but it always seemed like an unattainable dream to me. And then I had a friend who invited me in to do some radio, and I've gone after it with gusto, but I did not set out to be on the radio, even though I love it so much. So how did you go after it?
It's funny. I kind of lucked into the whole thing. I had gotten out of the military, and I was in Louisville, Kentucky in 2000. And some friends of mine pointed out, they said, hey, some guys here are going to get in on that D20 boom right now. It's a company called Citizen Games, and they need somebody to be a line editor. And we know you like D&D. What do you think about that? So my first published credits came in 2000 when I started working with Citizen Games as line editor. And I was like, man, I love this. This is so much fun. And one thing, I got that job, and that job led me to another job. And before long, I was freelancing like crazy. But my big break happened in 2003. I managed to get a job at Games Workshop US.
Oh.
And I went over, I was on the US White Dwarf team from 2003 to 2005. And that was my big break. That's where I was able to like take that and turn that into like my full-time career as like, I am now a game designer. I work on games, got my name out there. So it was really just kind of a combination of luck and determination.
Right. Well, is it, if somebody does it full time, are you always going to be in starving artist mode? Or, can you build a career out of this? Or I know there's always some people in the industry, they're going to do okay. Right. But I'm talking about the person comes along, ends up being a game designer, works at various levels. Can you make a living doing this?
You can. I think it takes a lot of work and discipline. You should really you need to get Matt Forbeck to talk about this topic on your show, because that guy really, he knows every in and out. He managed to make a fantastic career out of it. And there are some companies that do have like full-time RPG designers on staff.
Well, see, back in the day, like TSR, for example, they had full-time people on staff. They came in like it was a company, and
right.
You were full-time. And you were, but it's not really like that for most places anymore. Maybe Hasbro.
Very few.
Yeah, maybe Hasbro and Wizards a little bit, but yeah, it's
Fantasy
more like
Flight games.
Yeah, Fantasy Flight, but a lot of it's sort of a distributed network of full-time and freelance people, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
If you want to get into the business and work as a game designer, you're likely going to want to have a day job and then do the role-playing game stuff as your side business or a second job, because it is going to be mostly work. It's going to mostly jump from project to project.
All right.
Without that security of a full-time paycheck. But you could also, I would recommend you bring in those guys from Troll Lord to talk about this as well, because the Chanel brothers, they can talk your ear off about entrepreneurism and in the industry and what it takes to make a living.
Yeah, Steve is actually there. Troll Lord's not just a sponsor, but Steve's become a buddy, and he comes on the show sometimes and hangs out. So I think that's a great idea. I may see if he wants to come on and reach out to Matt that you mentioned. I think that'd be a great topic. I hope they come to SpaCon next year. Yeah. Well, I asked. I reached out to Troll Lords on SpaCon, and I can't remember that Todd Gray over there. If he's the one who usually runs games and stuff, and he had a conflict that weekend. But I do try to get them in the mix. I'm personally trying to get more organized role playing games going on around Arkansas. Like I want to do like a quarterly game day where like I rent out a hotel ballroom. And you just come pay $5 and play whatever you want, like 3 or 4 times a year, and get more organized role playing games going on. And I've talked to Troll Lord and some other people about that. So you would be welcome awesome. If you happen to be in town to jump in.
If I'm in the area, I'd love to, but getting down to Arkansas.
Yeah, it's not exactly a quick jaunt. Yeah, I hear you. So so let's say I'm a burgeoning, hopeful RPG designer, which I know there's a lot out there because there's so much RPG playing going on right now that there's people who's like, this is what I want to do with my life. How do you just contact a company and say, I want to send you unsolicited? What do you do? How do you get in? I know some people can go put stuff on the DMs Guild from Wizards and people can, and then if it takes off, then you can show, hey, people like my stuff. But other than that, like, how do you let a company know that A, you're interested, and B, you've got some chops?
That's a great question. I mean, right now you did point out that self-publishing is easier than ever with things like DM's Guild. But if it's your passion to work for a specific company, some ways to get that company's attention is if you can, go to a convention where they're going to be there. Bring some business cards that say who you are and what you do, and just kind of get a chance to talk to some of the developers there and say, hey, I want to work for you. Here's my card. Do some networking, because in person those guys are going to want to. They're going to understand who you are a lot better than from an email.
Sure.
Okay. Now, if you can't go to a con where these guys are going to be there, you can't network physically. You will want to do things through email. You will want to put together like a writing sample, just something that shows you understand their world or their rule set, or even just like build a monster. There was this guy, Robert Schwab. You may know who Robert Schwab is.
Sounds extremely familiar.
Yeah, he did Shadow of the Demon Lord, D&D 5th edition.
Oh, yeah.
Edition. Yeah. Okay. A lot of different games on it. Back in the day, he had this fantastic writing sample that I copied. I just stole it because it was so good. And his writing sample that he would send around was like a little one-paragraph encounter, a short, monster stat block, and then, like a little bit of lore.
So it showed that he got it. He showed that he got the stats, the encounter, and the lore. I hate to drag. We got about 30 seconds left here. Man, I appreciate you coming on. Maybe we can get you on again sometime down the road if I do like a forum on role-playing games or something, because I hate that we had technical difficulties, but you've been a champ with it. Evil Beagle Games, people go check them out. Okay, Ross Watson, Savage Rifts, and other things. Go check him out. Ross, you've been an amazing guest. I really appreciate you, and now you have to endure the bad joke of the week. All right?
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, what's a big dog's favorite pastry?
I don't know.
A great Danish.
Oh.
Folks, we'll catch you next time on Shane Plays.
Really?
Yeah, really.
You're me? Both of you?
Yup.
Even that one?
Yes.
You're my future selves?
Yes.
Am I having a midlife crisis? Why are you pointing your screwdrivers like that? They're scientific instruments, not water pistols. Look like you've seen a ghost. Oh, the pointing again. They're screwdrivers. What are you going to do? Assemble a cabinet at them?
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.